So just.
Alex, you are live.
All right, good morning, CB Texas, not just DFW, but all of Texas. My name's Alex Vidal. I'm the Regional Vice President for Coldwell Banker in DFW, but we are welcoming crowds from Austin and Houston and DFW today as we have a superstar, rock star panel for our first ever, at least that I've done, teams panel to educate everybody all about teams, kind of lay the groundwork. We have a lot of people on the screen. That are going to be on the screen. We have a lot of questions that you guys provided. It's kind of going to be lightning round. We're going to give everybody an opportunity to answer all the questions. We have quick intros, and then we're going to get right to it. So we have Tanya Peak from Frisco. We have Jacqueline and Daniel Foreman from Austin. We have Tatum Hood from Lakewood and DFW. We have Katie Day from Houston, and who just came on live, Brent Germany from Frisco as well. So if you guys can, I'm going to start down the line. Quick intro. How big is your team? How long have you been in the business? And what would you say is your last 12 months volume? And again, I'm going to let you know who's going so that Clarissa knows who to cut to. So we're going to start with you, Tanya. Tanya, do us the honors. Who are you? How big's your team? How long have you been in business and your sales volume?
All right, my name is Tanya Peak, and I have been in the business since 2001, and I have 11 agents on my team with 2 admin, transaction coordinators, admin, that one does buyers, one does sellers. And what was your other question?
Sales volume last 12 months.
We usually somewhere in the 60 millions.
Just 60 million. Amazing. I love it. All right, Jacqueline, Daniel warned me. Jacqueline and Daniel, women first. I know you're a husband and wife team. Go first, Jacqueline.
Okay, so I've been with Coldwell Banker going on 20 years. Daniel joined me about 5 years ago. There's just the 2 of us. We just added an assistant. I had a contract to close person, tried to move an assistant into the contract close position. It's proving to be a little bit challenging, but we're getting there. The past 12 months, we're right at 40 million between the 2 of us.
And you guys are based out of Austin?
Yes.
All right. Now, Daniel, she did do all the talking, but go ahead and introduce yourself, please, to the group.
I'm Daniel Foreman, the second half of Foreman Property Group. Been in the business almost 20 years as well. I have a residential new home construction background in sales. Worked for 2 builders, which y'all are probably familiar with. Toll Brothers, I was a senior sales manager for them for 16 years in the Austin area, and then went to a local builder from that, and then team about 5 years ago.
Sweet, good job. All right, Katie Day, my fellow CrossFitter. We're sharing workouts with her all the time. Okay, and then she calls me insane. Talk to us. Who are you?
Hey, what's going on? Other than trading workouts with Alex, I run a small team here in Houston. So I got into real estate in 2016 full time. Started a team in 2018. Last year we sold 135 properties, about 35 million. And this year we should hit probably about 40 million. And we've got 6 total agents, 3 admin, and a videographer.
There you go. Oh, man, this is going to be a fun time. Tatum, my man Tatum. I love Tatum. He has contributed in big ways to CBGFW. How about you? How long have you been in the business? How big's your team? Talk to us about numbers.
So Tatum, been in the business since 2006, licensed here in Texas, and I originally got my start in Georgia where I'm a broker. Have 5 agents on my team currently. We just grew to that. My numbers are a little bit different. I don't really go by my sales volume because you cannot calculate commission with my sales volume. There is really no way to do that. So I say anywhere from 8 to 12 million is where I am right now. Now I have a team of 5, but it's primarily just me and another agent just actually working the business. The other 3 are there and they're still training.
Got it. All right. Awesome stuff, man. And that's nothing to seize at 12 million. I'll do 12 million all day. That's a nice paycheck. All right, Brent. Wrapping it up before we get started, Brent, by the way, I got to preface this. He just had foot surgery, and he texted me this morning at 8:30 in the morning. All right, Alex, I'm good. I can do this. So he's literally just had surgery yesterday. So Brent, thank you for pushing through. Tanya as well, because I know you weren't feeling great. Brent, talk to us. Who are you?
Yeah, I'm probably the only person on the call that hasn't had a shower today. So I'm not allowed yet. So, but I decided to. I wasn't groggy, so I decided to jump on. Anyway, been an agent since November 2011, and started a team a few years after that. You know, started with my wife and then another agent. To Coldwell Banker in January of this year, so I'm pretty new to Coldwell Banker and loving it. Last year we did 38 million, saw a big jump. We have 18 agents, I believe now. A lot of those are new, so we're ramping people up. So not everyone's making consistent sales yet. I'm sure we might talk about that, but we are looking to do 75 million this year, so a big jump.
Wow, doubled your business since joining Coldwell Banker. I wonder if Coldwell Banker had anything to do with it. Sorry, I got to throw Coldwell Banker a plug. All right, here we go. So lightning round only because we have so much content that we're going to try and cover. And we're all salespeople, which means we all love to talk. So here we go. We're going to start right at the top, Tanya. We're going to go with you. Where were you in your business? And just so you understand, we're going to talk about later on who was your first hire. How did you come up with your value propositions? How do you keep your team members? How do you train them? What do you look for in them? Are you in production? Are you out of production? What's been the biggest impact on your life as a result of having a team? And the biggest piece of advice that you would give someone looking to start a team. So that's kind of what we're going to cover today, everyone. But let's start off with the very first one. Where were you in your business when you decided you needed to start a team? What was that trigger that you said, okay, I'm starting a team right now?
Well, the first thing I did was I was an individual agent for many, many years, but then I got to where I was working 24/7 and was drowning and was getting more referral business than I could handle. So at that time, that's when I got a full-time admin, and that's really when my business was able to double at that point. And then once she and I had worked together for about 2 years, in 2013 is when I hired my first team person. I hired one. We went about 6 months, then I hired another, and then I grew to about 6. And then I stayed there for many, many years up until probably the past 2 years. And that's when I grew to about 11. So it was just.
Your trigger point was when you had so much business that you were overwhelmed and you could no longer service the business.
Correct.
Okay, cool. Jacqueline, how about you? And you and Daniel, I know you guys are a team, and you, since you're husband and wife team together, I'll let either one of you take it. So yeah. Jacqueline or Daniel, what was the trigger for you guys to go team?
It was definitely, I'd used a contract to close. I started about 8 years ago, and then that was going really well. But about 5 years ago, I was up to about $15-16 million in business by myself, and I just knew that something bad was going to happen. You know, and I couldn't keep up that that kind of production on my own. So I just grabbed Daniel. I mean, he could hear everything was happening. I knew that it could be a seamless situation, so we were really lucky. The goal was, or what we thought was going to be the goal was I'd bring him on and teach him what I know. He'd go out and teach other people and we'd start this big team, but that's not actually how it unfolded. He actually came on and brought such a value proposition himself, coming from the new home construction business, that we quickly doubled our business within a year. And then this year now have tripled it within that 5 years. And that's just with him. So now we're hopefully going to be able to go lateral, and I'm hoping to learn that from you guys how to really make that happen.
So Daniel, let me kind of twist this question. What were you seeing in Jacqueline that you said I better stop what I'm doing and join her team? Like what were you seeing outside?
Yeah. Well, there was a shell of a woman at that point, just because of the volume that she was doing, and I knew that if it wasn't going to be me that she was hiring, it was going to be somebody else. So, and leaving new home construction, if you've ever done it before, you leave all your deals on the table. You don't take them with you. So I had to time it where I was in between communities and didn't have, $40 million in backlog that I would leave $500,000 on the table when I left. So it was kind of a juggling act to try to time that correctly as well. And it just so happened that it fell into that direction. So that was the biggest, and I knew I was going to be the best employee for her at the time. So I started off as an employee, and then she promoted me.
I do have to say that's correct. I made sure he understood he was going to be my assistant, and that was how it was going to be until he got to a place where, yes, I'd let him be my partner.
I love it. And the key word there, Daniel, based on what you were saying that I got out of it as an outsider's perspective, and I'm sure everybody's significant other can probably say the same, you were looking at a shell of a woman, right? And so, Katie, I'm curious, how about you? Where were you in your business when you decided to go team?
Yeah, so we decided in 2018 to start a team. Very similarly, both my husband and I were in real estate, but separately. We were both working from, basically with the time we woke up to, 8, 9, 10 plus PM. And we realized that we couldn't both continue down this path. And that, it wasn't sustainable for, our relationship, our friendships, our family, just kind of everything. So, we determined that it made the most sense to start a team. So at that point, we hired a business coach and kind of dove into, starting a team. And that was in September of 2018.
Got it. All right, Tatum, let's see. How about you? So here you are. You come to Dallas from Atlanta. You're cold calling machine. We know that. What was the tripping point for you to go team?
So my situation is a lot different than everybody else's. I never wanted a team in the beginning, never wanted a team. So my previous brokerage was a coaching company, real estate coaching company, and a brokerage all combined into one. So we had a guy that called several times saying that, hey, I want to be on his team. I want to be on his team. And I kept saying no. So eventually persistence paid off. I said, you know what, I'll give it a shot. And that is my superstar on my team now, Cody Creamer. So he convinced me to start a team.
Interesting, with the reverse sale. Okay, very cool. I love it. Now, Brent, you're a busy dude. You got kids, you got twins. I admire that about you because only those who have twins know what it's like to have twins. Everybody who wishes they had twins, they don't know what they're talking about. I think you and I could agree to that. How about you, man? You get into business 2011. I won't hold it against you that you're an Ole Miss fan, but here you are, and you decide to go team. What is it for you?
It was pretty simple for me. My path into real estate was a little bit different, and then I come from computer science, and so lead generation was super easy for me. It just came naturally, and that's back when Facebook worked, things like that. And so I jumped into sales really quickly. And for me, I would love to say it was something like work-life balance, but it isn't because I work more now than I did then. But I also see how you can work smarter and not harder. And my computer science background, to be fair to everyone, going out and showing a house, my time is better spent on the back end trying to analyze analytics, looking at lead sources, looking at vendors we're using and how we can utilize that with teams. And I'm just more of a big picture person. A funny joke, I had an agent tell me one time that the two things he hated about real estate were houses and people. And that's not necessarily, it's not the case for me. I always thought it was funny, but I do think that I enjoy the back end team structure and the training and building people up. And it's really cool to see you help change someone's life, really. And, I've got agents on my team that used to work at Starbucks and now they're making 6 figures. That's pretty cool. And
but Brent, hold on though. Brent, what did you, because where did you started as a single agent. You didn't go right into a team, right?
Right.
Okay, so how did you go from single agent to hiring your first person?
When you do 11 deals in a month yourself in December, and then you realize you don't have time to buy Christmas presents for your family, there you go. And that was like year 3. And I hired my wife right away, who then, we had twins, so she's on the Guinness Book World Record of maternity leaves as they're 5. So we'll get her back in there sometime. But yeah, that was it. And then you see production happening outside of just yourself, and it just kind of snowballs from there. And we're obviously going big now with 18 agents.
All right, so let's stay on you, Brent. Because you alluded right into the next question, which was your first hire was your wife, right? So I know how you found them because you found them in your own home. What were her duties? And again, lightning round, guys, because we got a lot that we're going to try to go through. And I want everybody, because you can tell everybody kind of does things differently. You found them in your own home. Cool. What were her duties and how did you pay her? And who was your next hire after her?
Okay, so she paid me. That's the way it works. She jumped right into being an agent, and she ran a sales team before that, so she was good at it. And I will say that for those of you listening that are considering joining a team, don't do it that way. Don't hire an agent first. Hire an assistant.
All right, we're gonna get there. We're gonna. Okay, you know what? Go for it. No. Actually, no. That's right here. I'm sorry. You're right.
What her duties were, it was an agent right away, and then I hired another buyer's agent. And as you'll get further into this call, I did everything backwards. And I feel like you have to do it that way for some reason. All the top producers I've ever talked to did it all backwards. So I'm falling right in.
So you hired an agent, you hired your wife as an agent first, then you hired another agent first. Now, and this will be a question, is how did you find that second agent? And did the splits differ between you and between your wife and the other agent?
Well, of course.
I was just asking.
Well, I mean, it all goes in the same bank account with my wife.
All right.
The split was, yeah, of course. But no, it's the other agent was really through the brokerage, and now we're using WiseHire a lot to do a lot of recruiting. So there you go.
All right, Tatum. So this guy begs you to join your team. So we know how you found him because he came to you. Now you have several other members on your team. How did you find those other members? And how are you paying them split wise? Is it the same across the board, or how do you handle that? You're muted, buddy. Hold on. Unmute yourself. Sorry. There you go.
So it's the same process. When they saw Cody on my team, he worked in not necessarily construction, but he has his own tire business. So big rigs on the side of the road, changing tires. They saw him go from that to a real estate agent making six figures his second year. They wanted to do that too. So everyone on my team asked me to join. I never recruited anybody. They always asked me, which was, not finding out is weird, but that was the norm for me. I've never recruited anybody. Everybody has always asked me to join my team.
Do you pay them the same across the board?
Across the board, the same across the board.
All right, so Jacqueline and Daniel, we kind of know the answer, right? Your first hire was Daniel. So talk to me about that. How did you guys figure out, how you pay him, or how do you guys handle commissions between the husband and wife team?
Well, it just all runs through me for sure, in what my split is. As far as the newest person that we hired, it was someone I helped get a job as a admin at our Coldwell Banker office, and she got furloughed during COVID. So I just took her on because, again, she already knew the processes at Coldwell Banker. That was really great. Obviously, she gets a different split. We are looking to hire more people. However, and I know this isn't your question, but I'm still going to ask it. I wonder, when I hear people have 18 people on their team, what do you feel your responsibility is to them, and what is your advantage for having those people?
Okay, so save that question. That's a great question, because we're going to cover that.
Okay.
So let me ask you this, Daniel. How is your role as a part of the team? And then we'll go Katie, and then we're going to go Tanya. What's your role on the team?
It's basically, I handle all marketing. We basically kind of break a listing deal and a buy deal up differently, depending if I'm out showing property or she's showing property. But basically, with my construction background and my corporate training background from Toll Brothers, as far as marketing goes, I handle all the marketing, schedule all photography, make sure the make-readies are all done before we go live on the market. Once we get a contract, it shifts back over to Jacqueline. Jacqueline handles all negotiations and handles the contract. We get inspections in, I handle all inspections, and then it goes back to Jacqueline, and I'm moving on to the next listing or the next buyer.
Interesting. So it sounds like you're doing all the non-client facing activities, would you say? And then when it comes to client facing, Jacqueline's more involved?
Well, no, because I still have clients, past clients. I've built over 400 homes. So those homes are now starting to turn over, and those clients are calling me. And Jacqueline's going, "Where'd you get this person?" Well, I've already built their house for them once. They were a client. They're calling us back.
Interesting. Okay. So, but would you say when you started, it was more non-client facing, and now that you've been in it, you're starting to see the turnover?
Correct.
Okay, cool. Katie, here you are, single agent, started in 16, I think you said. Now we're into 18. You decided it's you and your husband. What's up? Like, who do you bring on first?
So I'm going to 1,000% agree with Brent. And anyone that does not have a team and wants to start one, do not hire an agent as your first hire. You're not organized enough to do it, even though you think you are. So my first hire was a buyer's agent. It was another person in the office that we were really good friends with, and she wanted to learn. So she would go door knocking with us. She would help with open houses. She would, shadow us when we went on appointments, things like that. And when we decided we wanted to start a team, talk to our coach about it. She says you need to hire an admin and get organized before you get, start onboarding people and have training processes and, workflows and things like that. And we said, okay, great, we're going to hire an agent, and that's what we did. So, yeah, we went against everyone's advice. We went against our coach's advice. It's worked out well. She's done very well, but we definitely would have been better organized. Building the plane a little bit more before we started to fly, as opposed to figuring out as we went along.
So Katie, how many do you have on your team again?
So right now, between my husband and I, we have the two of us and then 4 buyer's agents.
Okay, how did you find those buyer's agent, and how are you paying them? Is the split the same across the board?
The split is the same across the board, yes. I guess it's 50-50 across the board. I don't know if we're allowed to say that or not, but I did. We found some of them. We do a training program that I guess we'll probably get into a little bit later. So we've done a training program, so that's how we found most of them. But really word of mouth. It's been kind of friends of friends. We do run ads on Wise Hire like Brent does. But most of our, I would say, higher quality leads have been either followers on social media or like friends of friends that DM us on social.
So interesting. They're coming to you. I love that. And Tatum had the same thing. Okay. So it sounds like everybody started the wrong way, but I do know that Tanya started the right way. So Tanya, give it to us when you started the right way. Talk to us about what it was when your first hire, and what did she do or he do for you?
My assistant, she was just, when I hired her, she just took care of all the back end work, all the paperwork and all the grunt work that after you're out showing all day and doing everything all day, you have to get home and then start grinding out another 3 or 4 hours of work by yourself from 10 till 1 in the morning. So, when I hired her, those were the main things I got her to do. I started helping me build my CRM and find ways to stay in touch with my past clients, and help me make sure my contracts were written. And then I would come in, she would write them up, and then I would come in and proof them and send them out. So, she just really took over everything that was kind of the grunt work that was keeping me from being productive, but was more the back end type, busy, just bogging you down type stuff that, you just don't have time to do when you're out running the streets.
Got it. Okay, so you're an individual agent. You have no time for anything. You decide to go out, hire your first admin, not an agent. Right. She handles all the back end stuff. You're checking what she's doing, etc. Now comes time to hire your first team member. How did you find them? Now you're up to, I think you said 11 team members. How did you find all 11? You have a killer group, by the way. So does Brent. I know those groups personally. And do you pay them the same across the board?
I pay them the same across the board. Everybody has the same exact splits, no special treatment. And most everybody has come to me, or people on my team have found them. I haven't done that much on Wise Hire. I've tried it a little bit, but it's just, I don't know, they just kind of come out of the woodwork. So I mainly just ask my team to find other agents that they like to work with and people that they think that would be good to work with, and then they pull them in that way. And then anybody that comes in that they bring in, I give them $500 on that person's first sale. So that motivates them to go out and aggressively help me find good agents.
Interesting. All right. So you incentivize your agents to help the team grow. You pay them $500 if they refer someone on their first deal. Nice. I like that. Okay. So let me ask the next question, because here's anytime I meet with an agent that tells me I want to start a team, okay, individual agent, I said, okay, great. So Alex Vidal walks in the front door of Coldwell Banker. There is a value proposition that is afforded to every single Coldwell Banker agent, whether you're on a team or not, whether it be Moxie, Listing Concierge, Clients for Life, RealSure, Real Vitalize, blah, 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 right? You know it all. But then you have to come up with your own value proposition above and beyond that. So how did you come up with what your value proposition is? And I'm going to start in the middle of the screen with Katie, just on how I see it laid out. How did you come up with the value proposition that you offer your team above and beyond that agent walking into Coldwell Banker and getting some of those tools anyways? Go ahead, Katie. It's you.
So I think that it's kind of difficult, right? Because Coldwell Banker does have so many good tools for individual agents. So for a lot of people, especially if they're already, in production and producing well, for them, it may be a hard decision to make on if they want to be on a team that may be, a lower split. I think one of the things we always focus on is the take home and the production of our agents. If our minimum standard of production is 2 deals per month, they will generally, they will make more money on our team at a lower split than they would individually with Coldwell Banker. But as far as value prop and what we offer, we have, individualized training and mentorship. We meet with all of our agents on a monthly basis. We have professional coaching. So each month they have a coaching call with our coach. And I think the camaraderie and competition, so we have goals we set each month. We have competitions that we run. We're in the middle of one right now that, depending on calls, appointments had, and deals in escrow, they can win either like AirPods, an Apple Watch, or, a MacBook or an iPhone. So, they're all kind of talking trash to each other, in that regard, because, they want to win those things. And it's not even, I think everyone has a working computer and a phone and all that, but it's more so like to say that I won as opposed to like wanting a new, computer. Yeah. And then as far as just additional accountability and things like that, we have a lot of different tools that we use, to track leads, to make sure we're following up. We use different transaction management software, things like that. And then just like the budget for branding and marketing and video and things like that. So we have a videographer on staff that we pay on a monthly basis, and they, have access to him. And then just the branding and marketing, so we have all of kind of the pens and koozies and the kind of known brand in Houston.
Got it. All right, sweet. Brent, let's jump to you for a minute. What you got the biggest team at 17. Okay. You are in an office competing and I know you guys are close, but you're competing with the Tanya Peaks of the world, right? Some of the Frisco office has some of the biggest teams in DFW, period. Why your team over the other teams? Like, what's the value proposition that you guys have?
Sure, and I'll piggyback a little bit on what Caitlin was saying, but systems, structure, training, and we're a huge online lead generating team, so leads are obviously a huge portion of it. Coaching and culture is, when I'm looking for someone to be on the team, you've got to be a culture fit. I don't care how many sales you make. But Alex will tell you, we play with.
And we're going to talk about the culture. And to give you guys a little preview to this, I walked into Brent's office the other day, and he was knee deep in a Super Mario Brothers game. He was very concentrated, and I love it. He's got wiffle ball. Well, I don't want to let it out, so we'll get to that in a minute. All right, so Tatum, these agents are coming to you, right? They're coming. You don't even want them, but they're begging to be on your team, which I love. What is it that you're doing? What's above and beyond that you're doing that they're saying, I got to be a part of Tatum Hood and his team?
So mine is more or less take home, education, and structure. So mine is my team. When they join my team, I offer an above average split than the average team does. The reason I do that is because I don't want you to have to take, 4, 6, 8 listings or sales a month to be able to support your family. So my splits are a lot higher than the average team. That's attractive to them. The education piece. So one of mine is more or less one-on-one because my team is much smaller than a lot of people on the call. Mine is much more one-on-one. They get to learn exactly from me how I do it, why I do it, and I also teach them to be self-sufficient. So if they do leave my team, my biggest question to them is, did you learn something? Yes, I learned to be self-sufficient, which a lot of people have come on my team, and we stay in contact. One is doing pretty good in South Texas right now because of they was on my team when they first started in the business.
Got it. Okay, cool. So Jacqueline, Daniel, have you had to come up with a value proposition for your team yet? Because it's really the two of you, and you just brought somebody on. Or what are you thinking? Where are your thoughts going if you look to grow your team? Because you did have that question, Jacqueline. What's the value proposition?
I'm sorry, the value proposition I think Daniel could go into in depth more. And I think the only thing stopping us at this point from growing our team is availability. The numbers that we're doing are not allowing us to help anybody right now. It would literally have to slow down for us to be able to bring anybody on because we don't have the time to do it. Is that correct? So
let's. So yeah. You know what, Daniel? and I'm going to open this up. Brent, Tatum, Caitlin, Katie, Tanya, you just heard that. They're too busy to grow their team. What advice would you give them being on the flip side of having teams? Open it up. I don't care who goes. Go for it. Who wants to take that?
We've all run into this issue
Yeah.
at some point or another. And actually, Tanya does a much better job of, she's got someone that's in between her buyer's agents and her, and I don't. So my phone is still blowing up even more now. But I'm stepping out of production outside of some Sphere, and it's going to be a listing. I don't work with buyers at all. It's way more cost efficient for me. What's your dollar per hour, and what's that worth to you? And so if I have past clients call me that want to go buy, I literally had one last night. I gave it to Justin on our team because I don't have time to do that anymore, and it's more efficient for me to continue to coach people to make more sales. Hire someone to make 16 sales a year or 20 sales a year versus me going out and trying to make 3. It doesn't make any sense. So it's a Band-Aid you've got to rip off, and it hurts when you do it, but you're going to be glad you did it.
Okay, so that it sounds like Jacqueline's going to let go of control.
I agree with that 100%. Right. You have to take 2 steps. You may have to take 1 step back, but yeah, you're going to make you're going to have a lot more free time in the long run if you start training people sooner versus later. And yes, my phone was blowing up like Brett's, and it was driving me crazy because every single question was coming from me. So I have a team lead on my team that I give her all the closings on the team. So the team goes through her before they come to me. So if she can't answer the question, then she calls me, or then we go through it. But versus having all 11 people calling me all day, they run through her, and I give her an override in order to have to run through all their questions and help them so that I'm not constantly on the phone with them.
I can appreciate that very much.
It's been a
It sounds like you got to rip the Band-Aid off and take a step back to go 10 feet.
I don't know how to say. I don't know how to ask you. You know, with the people that I don't really know how to say it. It's very much a luxury market in this area. The people that call do not want to work with anyone else but us. They're calling to work with us.
Okay. All right.
So I don't know how to pass that on, you know?
Challenge you on this, okay? Because I've had the same exact conversation with Tatum and Brent and Tanya.
Okay.
And so so I'm going to have the same exact conversation with you. Are these new people to you, or are these past clients that are working with you now?
We work specifically in an area where either they're past clients, friends, or they already know who we are.
Okay. So on the past, what % of your business is past clients versus people who have no idea who you are?
Dan?
Probably 70% past or referral from past client.
Okay. So I'm going to walk you through an abbreviated version of what I did with Tatum. And Tatum, you can chime in on how this has changed your life after I'm done. Okay. But here's what I'm going to tell you, Jacqueline. They're calling you. Why are they calling you? They're calling you because they trust you. Would you agree with that?
That, and I brand and market myself pretty heavily.
Okay.
Shamelessly.
But for the repeat business, they're calling you because you've delivered and you've performed for them. And as a result, they're calling you again to deliver and perform for them because they trust you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, correct.
One of the things I'm going to challenge you with is having the ability to meet with that client and say, I performed for you, I've delivered for you in the past, etc. I need you to trust me again now. I'm going to oversee the process. But just as you're trusting me, I trust this individual with my business, and they're going to help you, and I'm going to be involved. But they're the ones that are going to take you to go look at the properties. And I'm giving you an abbreviated version.
Yeah.
Share with them how that changed your life.
Yes, please.
So just like you, I was hesitant at first, teaching something new to me, but it works. It works. It was all in my head, if that makes any sense. It was all in my head. When I did it the first time, I was like, it actually worked. They actually, okay. So it's more you than them, actually. So once you get over it, it's a shoe-in for them. So it works. It actually works.
There you go. You just have to have the ability to ask. Katie, what advice would you give them? So you guys were really busy, right? You went to hiring a buyer's agent. How did you rip that Band-Aid off to just say, oh my God, I'm gonna lose a little business, but I'm gonna go forward?
Yeah, I mean, and I think that kind of goes back to hiring an admin and having someone that can take what you're doing and break it down to every single step. I had a coach basically tell me the same thing that Alex just said, but in not so nice of terms. And it was basically, hey, like, they don't care about you. They don't want to work with you. They just want to buy a home, and you're the person that can facilitate that. So if instead of it being you, it's your team, like what, you know, was the kind of ego that I had to set aside, because, you know, honestly, my buyer's agents are probably better at working with buyers than I am, you know, like as far as like disc profiles and things like that. Like and I know no one on this call really knows me that well, but like my profile is like a DI, right? And like a buyer's agent should be like, you know, the caring, you know, IS, you know, personality. And I'm just like, I don't understand why you don't want to make an offer at the price that I told you. Like, just do it, you know, and they coach them through their clients through that a lot better. So once I kind of set aside that, like, I am just the facilitator for these clients to buy a home, even if they are past clients, even if they are Sphere, you know, they have a lot of choices. You know, we're not the only agent. You know, in Houston, we have 40,000 real estate agents in the city, right? So like, you know, they could go with any number of people and they're coming to me, but, you know, I oversee it. Normally what I'll do is I'll go out, especially if it's a closed Sphere, like at least on the first set of tours or the first few, you know, homes on a set of tours, just, and then, you know, let them really take the lead. I'm just there kind of standing around taking notes, you know, and then I head out. So, yeah.
Well, I like that, Katie. That's cool too. I think, Jacqueline, if you're not ready to rip the Band-Aid off like Tatum, that's a nice little segue where maybe if they're visiting 10 homes, you go to the first one or two and then they feel comfortable, then you can move on. Now, I want to stay on the value proposition piece for a minute here, because Tanya, you didn't get a chance to go. You have an amazing team. And again, I know particularly Brent and Tanya's teams because I've spent a lot of time with them. They're really fun groups. And I know they admire the both of you as team leads. And again, I only know that from my personal experience. But again, just like Katie said, there's 40-something thousand realtors in Houston. There's 40-something thousand realtors in Netras here in DFW. Why the Tanya Peak team? What's the value proposition that you offer that would make an agent want to join your team?
As far as wanting the agents to want to join my team?
Yeah.
Well, I would say its culture is number one, just like Brett's. If they don't fit in with the group, then, you know, they're going to just kind of bring more problems than they are solutions. We work hard and we play hard, and we like to have a lot of fun, and, you know, we joke around with each other and we have a good time together. We've got great systems in place. You know, we have structure in place, we have competitions, we do coaching. I hire private coaches that teach the team, as well as we do training ourselves, as well as Coldwell Banker has fantastic trainings that they do as well. And then, of course, you know, we have huge lead sources that come in. So, I mean, there's more leads than they can actually work at any given time. I've got thousands of leads that need to be touched. And so, but the bigger system of it is.
Sorry, I said hint to whoever's watching. Call Tanya. She's got leads for you.
That's right. Plenty. So that's the majority of it, is they really need to fit in with the team, and then they need to have good work ethic, and you know, we have systems in place, and we have requirements that they need to hit, you know, in order to continue to get leads and maintain and stay on the team. Got it.
All right, good stuff. So let me ask you this, Tanya, we'll stay on you and then we'll bounce around. How are you, so we know how you're keeping them, because that's your value proposition that you guys have above and beyond what Coldwell Banker does. I love it from a culture, training, leads. You're feeding them, coaching them, teaching them, making them so much money that they really don't care about the split because you're just helping them so much. Right. How often, so let's address the other elephant in the room about teams, which is how often do you have turnover? Okay, do you deal with it? Because I think that's one of the biggest concerns is Lee Lamont, one of our top agents, you know, one of the reasons he doesn't start a team, and he's very vocal about this, is he doesn't want to bring somebody up and go through the hassle of bringing them up to then have somebody leave. So how do you guys handle the turnover piece?
Turnover's really not been an issue on my team recently. Before my current team lead, I had a different team lead, and she was a little more militant. So she ran a few people off so that she had to go. And so the current one I have is much more nurturing and much more understanding and much more giving. And so as of right now, I've not had anybody leave in probably a year and a half.
Yeah, that's true. And you're exactly right. How about you, Katie? What's going on there? Why is nobody leaving, or are people leaving? Like, how often do you have turnover?
So we're still, I mean, a lot newer as far as teams go, you know, kind of in comparison to some of the others on this call. So anyone that's left, it's really been that our culture wasn't aligned, right? Or that they didn't fit our core values, and we didn't test that enough prior to them, or not test that, but you know, discuss that prior to them starting with the team. So, you know, a lot of them were no longer going to do real estate full time, you know, and all of our agents are full-time agents, and that's something that I feel very strongly about. But yeah, so I mean, it really wasn't a cultural fit.
Got it. Okay. So interesting, Brent, let's jump to you for a minute. And the only reason I want to do this is, Brent, you have the largest team, right? And you have absolutely gone through trials and tribulations of growing your team. You have Katie, the flip side, relatively new, looking to build her team. What advice would you give her in terms of interviewing agents in the beginning, so that she doesn't have to experience this going forward?
I get a little too quick to hire. And I think part of that was I had a mindset of just putting bodies in seats. I've gone away from that. Just this year, the transition to Coldwell Banker, and also seeing our production go up, you know, plus 70 million, and seeing where we rank in real trends and things like that, we go back and say, and now I'm in the mindset that it's an honor to be on our team. And I think everyone building a team, you know, if you don't have that mindset, there may be a value proposition issue or something going on mentally. So we do that now. And so with hiring, it needs to be a multiple interview process for sure. There's some things we still don't do. Like, I think a working interview would be great. Let's sit them down and let them make phone calls. We need to do more of that. But now I've got an executive assistant who's in the office, and she's part of that process. She was a great hire. You know, her background was Disney, so she's trained really well. And so she's going through that, and we're getting WiseHire back on, and she's doing the initial interviews. And it's like, you've got to have a gatekeeper between you and them. And then the culture fit is the hugest piece for us. So I just think, and even when you feel it's the biggest thing with hiring, and I struggle with this still, is you may be putting things in place, but you've got to continue to fill that roster and have that bench full and continue interviewing. Even when it's like, okay, I want to hire 3 people. Cool, I got 3. What if those 3 don't pan out and you've got no one? You got to always continue interviewing, and we're building that back up right now. We took a little bit of break during the pandemic, but yeah, but we still have turnover. You know, we still have turnover. We've had several this year. So.
Yeah. So Tatum, you know, it's interesting because I look at it, and so people are going to you, right, and saying, "Hey, let's be a part of the team." You know, how often do you experience turnover on your team?
It's pretty rare. Since I started my team back in 2015, I believe total of 4 people have left, but that was pretty much it. One left the business, one started his own team, and another took a position as a broker at another brokerage, as a designated broker at a brokerage. So it's pretty rare.
Got it. So, you know, now Jacqueline, I'm curious for you guys. You know, you can't fire Daniel because you found him in your own home, the same way Brent found his wife in his own home. What about you guys? I'm just curious because you just now have one person under you. Is that something that concerns you guys about turnover on the team?
No, it doesn't. And I mean, there are several people that would love to join our team. We just haven't been able to figure out how to just, if we have the value proposition for them, how do you pay them? I mean, we've just really been stuck for about a year knowing that we do want to leverage our time and leverage ourselves. And we also want to help, you know, we want to teach. I mean, I've been a realtor for 20 years, so, and I think I do have things to teach, but just getting from one point to the next seems to be hard because, I mean, we've got a good handful of people that would really like to join our team, you know, just would do it at a moment's notice. But
so what would you, okay, so I can almost see, I see Brent's like in his chair, like
hire them.
Well, tell him, what would you do, Brent? If you're in their position, what would you do?
Thank you.
5 people just chomping at the bit to join your team. Interview them, get to know them. Are they a culture fit? If they are, hire them, give them a shot, give them some leads. What's the downside? I mean, really, what's the downside? It's going to be more time away from your clients. Is that right?
Yeah, and more time. It's going to be more time. Yeah,
Bring them,
right.
Bring them with you. Bring them with you on showings. Like, show them how it's done.
Tanya, you agree with that?
Yes, I would just have them follow you around for the first 4, 5, 6 months. If you're in a luxury and you're concerned your luxury clients aren't going to be okay with who you're bringing, then I would just have them be your shadow for a few months. That way they see everything you do all day, every day. Your clients get to see them with you. They get familiar with them, and then they're going to learn what your habits are and how you do it. And that way they're going to be able to more be like a chameleon and do it how you do it. And that way your clients aren't going to be like, oh, well, she doesn't do it this way, you do it that way. So they really just need to shadow you.
Okay.
So Tanya, let me ask Tanya, Brent, and Katie, I see you shaking your head, so I know you're in agreement with this. Let me ask you guys this. If somebody's shadowing you, my immediate thought is, because I know how agents are you paying them anything for being along for the ride and shadowing you? Are you giving them a piece of the pie? Are you cutting them, $1,000 in the deal or something like that? Or do you look at it and say, for what it's worth, and this is not an ego thing, but you're lucky that you get to ride with somebody who oversees a team that does 80 million a year or 60 million a year or whatever. So enjoy it. You're getting free education right now.
It's more of a free education. I don't pay them.
No, knowledge is power. Come learn. Soak it up.
Tatum, you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Okay. So Tatum, you're a monster cold caller. When you have people joining your team, are they in the room making calls, and are you listening to them make calls too?
They're trained. Yes, they're trained. We used to have call night, but with COVID, we need to get back to that. But yeah, we used to be all in the same room. It's kind of noisy, but we used to all be in the same room. That's one of the things that I actually do is teach them to be self-sufficient, which is make phone calls. A lot of realtors in today's market rather throw dollars at a problem than pick up the phone and just reach out to people.
Got it. Katie, how about you? Are you taking anybody on, like it's new to your team? Are they sure that you're considering? Do you have them shadow you, kind of see what it's like?
So we kind of changed things up this year because last year we hired on agents and then, determined that they didn't need to work or they didn't want to be in real estate anymore or whatever it may have been. And, we put a lot of time and energy into training just one person. So this year we've run a few 30-day training programs where basically it's a great opportunity for those potential agents to see what it's like to be on a team, because we have morning huddles that we all get together on a phone call. We do role play via Zoom, similar to call nights, like Tatum was saying. We do Zoom prospecting, so we all open up a Zoom room, mute our phones, and we're all making calls. So you can see everyone around you, kind of calling. So the 30-day training program has been kind of like the shadowing, to where we go through everything from building their business plan to contract to close, and train 3 or 4 people at the same time, and then at the end of the 30 days we come to a mutual decision on if it's a right fit for them but also for us. And it's been good for us because then everyone interviews well for the most part. Everyone says that they're going to work hard, everyone says they like making phone calls and they like doing open houses and all of these things, but then you actually get into it and they actually don't like doing these things and don't want to work hard, and you've put how many ever hours of time into them. So that's kind of been our thing for 2020 and has been successful thus far.
Cool. All right, so it's 10:53. We're gonna have to lightning round these questions real quick. I don't want this to end because it's funny. I see Jacqueline asking the group of questions. Katie, you just said something and Brent went like this, and I immediately saw him reach over and take notes. I saw Tanya take notes. And so I'm getting goosebumps because it shows me the value that this is bringing not only to you guys, but to everybody who's watching, which I know we're in the hundreds based on Clarissa's text message. So Clarissa, get ready. We're going to lightning round these questions. I'm sorry, we're going to toggle through. This will be interesting. So here we go. Tanya, are you in or out of production?
I'm in, but I only take a few listings, and I'm very particular. I cherry pick pretty much is what I do, the listings. Other than that, I give it to the team.
All right, fair enough. You've earned that. So Jack, Daniel, I think we know the answer. You guys are obviously very much in production.
Very much, yes.
Katie, how about you? Are you in production or have you taken a step back?
I am in production, but it's my goal to get out of production next year. So putting it out there to the Coldwell Banker world.
All right, talk. Well, hold on, we're going to get to here next. Tatum, in or out of production?
In production.
In production. Brent, in or out of production?
Barely in production.
So, okay, well, hold on, clarify that for me. Barely in production. What does that mean?
Listings only, family, and hardcore sphere. Yeah, that's it.
Hardcore sphere, listings, any listings or?
No, I pass a lot of them off to the team.
Okay. Okay, so let me ask you this, Brent. That's a great question. So you pass a lot of them, but not all of them. So do you guys, and I'm curious, and this is not on here, do you guys have clear parameters in terms of, so Brent, you kind of, determine what listings come in and out, right? If all of a sudden a $5 million listing came on your plate, you're probably going to take it because it's a $5 million listing. I mean, let's just be real. We know that, okay? Are those kind of parameters set in writing with the agents on your team on, as team leads, and I'm going to open this up for everybody, as a team lead, that you have clear guidelines that if a buyer under a certain price point goes to the team, if it's a listing within a certain price point, it goes to a team? Or is that kind of you guys go with the flow of what comes in?
Yeah, so I do want to preface all of that by saying I do not take any leads. Any leads that we generate, they all go to the team. So the only time I take a listing is from a past client or a family member. And even those, I will pass them off to the team. If it's in an area where someone's closer, because we have some agents in South Dallas, then it's going to go to them. If it's, and price point does factor into it. I mean, it really does. If it's above 400, I usually take it.
Okay. So how do you avoid, and Tatum, I know you're very much in production, and Katie, how do you handle it? And I'll let anybody I'll open it up. How do you guys handle that? Like, because I would envision, and again, I'm just as an outsider, if all of a sudden you're giving me leads, and then, man, but he took that real good lead for himself. How do you avoid that rub with the agents on your team? Is it expected? Is it they don't care because they're getting all the other business? How do you avoid that confrontation with the agents on your team?
I don't have that confrontation because it's not a lead. If it was a lead that I was cherry picking, that would be different. It's not a lead for me. It's my brother called me and told me to go help my friend sell his house.
So stay, Clarissa, leave the camera on Brent, so you don't have to talk back and forth. And I'm going to open this up. So I'm going to challenge you, Brent, and I love you, man. If a $5 million lead came in, what would you do?
There's only maybe one or two people on my team that I would even trust to work that. They need me.
Okay, fair.
And I may co-list it with an agent on the team, but I'm on it.
Gotcha. Sure. Okay, fair. How about Tanya, Katie, everybody, just unmute yourselves if you want, because we got a lightning round this. Do you have clear parameters set on the team? I'm thinking for Jacqueline and Daniel, if they're going to look for a team and they're in high ticket items, I would assume that there should be some rules of engagement, right? Do you guys have rules of engagement with your team?
Daniel?
Well, do you guys? I'm actually asking this for you guys. So because I'm thinking you're going to have to deal with this as you start to build your team. So Katie, Tatum, Tanya, do you guys have rules of engagement with your team?
So
I do
for
not.
us,
As the leads came in, whoever's on leads gets the lead. And as of like Brent, I don't take any of the leads. I don't have anything to do with the leads. That goes straight to the team. The only people I work are, as he said, hardcore sphere that I've probably done 4 or 5 transactions with, and I know they're not crazy and going to be easy to work with.
Got it. Okay, fair. And it sounds like if it's a lead that is big enough, they're gonna look to you to be involved on the deal.
Right.
Right. Katie, how about you? Do you have rules of engagement?
yeah, so for us, I really only focus on listings, and then our buyers agents are strictly buyers. And then once they reach a certain level of production, if they want to move to listings, they can. So, we'll bridge that gap when we get to it, but we want to get out of production. So, I mean, I think that it's we want to continue for them to grow and to learn and to take listings and kind of cover all of that. For buyers, I really only work relo buyers. And then ones that I, try to pass off and they, actually say, no, I do want to work only with you. And I've had that happen a few times.
Okay, got it. And you do have Move Me to Texas on your shirt. That is the name of your team. Tatum, how about you? Do you have rules of engagement with your team?
Yeah, so I only have one person on my team that's qualified to take listings. So mine's more of do you qualify to take it? Are you experienced enough to take it? The last thing I want to do is for you to show up and, you're competing with 3 other people that's well qualified or more qualified than you. So I only have one person on my team that's qualified to take listings, as well as buyers. Buyers are more of a toss-up. So whoever answers their phone on my team gets it.
Okay. So I'm going to ask 2 questions, and we really need to lightning round this piece. The 2 questions are the biggest impact in your life as a result of having a team, and if you could go back and give yourself advice on starting a team, what would you do differently? Even though I think we answered that in the beginning with hire an assistant first. Sounds like before you hire another agent. I think would we agree with that across the board? Hire an assistant first before an agent. That's the one piece of advice you give yourself. So what's been the biggest impact on your life as a result of having a team? Tanya, we'll start with you.
Freedom and more time, way more time for myself than what I had when I was an individual agent.
Got it. All right, Jacqueline, Daniel, how about you guys?
Being able to do a lot more production, just adding one team member, I've tripled my production, so that was worth it.
There you
For
go.
sure.
Katie, how about you?
And have more time.
And time together, by the way, right? Because you're husband and wife.
Yeah.
Katie, how about you?
So I wouldn't necessarily say that I have more time because, I think it was Brent or Tatum said that a lot of their time is now spent managing people as opposed to managing deals. And I think that I'm still kind of in that limbo. But I would say my time is better spent. So instead of, going out and showing properties all day long, I'm managing people and they're then, producing in what I would have produced before. So it's just different time spent instead of, I said more time to myself, it's just differently spent. And then the biggest piece of advice I think would be the hiring an assistant first and just getting a little bit more organized before throwing agents into the mix.
Got it. How about you, Tatum?
Mine is different. Personal satisfaction, watching someone who's new to the business grow to a superstar. I can't even put that into words how that makes me feel. That's why I love it. That's why, and I would say my biggest thing is don't listen to the horror stories about starting a team. And that's why I didn't want to start one, because I'd listened for years to horror stories. Don't do that.
Yeah. Well, that's because the people giving you their advice failed at it. So they're coming from the perspective of failure, where everybody who's watching this is getting the perspective of having successful teams. Brent, what's been the biggest impact on your life?
My weekends are free. I still work more hours than most people on the team during the week, but my weekends are free to watch my 5-year-old do what I want to do. The second part to your question about your first hire, I disagree with assistant. You got to hire a coach first. You need a coach first. I really think so. That has been the biggest difference in my team in the last 2 years. Is I finally swallowed my pride and hired a coach. I had $10,000 in the bank account. That's all I had, and it scared me because I had a lot of people to support. And that story is way different now. So hire a coach.
Brent, if you and I love that because everybody. It's funny. I don't need coaching, but my analogy is look at Tom Brady. He's got a coach. Look at LeBron James. He's got a coach. Look at Tiger. Whatever. Any professional athlete at the top of their game has a coach, right?
Look at Tanya Peak. She's got a coach.
So who's your coach, Brent?
I use a company called Club Wealth. It's a private coaching company, but I really like it.
Cool deal. All right, so I just text we're running behind about 5-10 minutes. All right, so I got a couple more minutes if you guys do. So I do want to get a couple more questions if we can. So your assistants, are they unlicensed or licensed? And how do you pay them? Do you pay them a salary? Do you pay them hourly? Do you pay them, what's your pay structure? You don't have to give me the exact number because I don't think that's right to disclose. But are your assistants licensed or unlicensed, and how do you pay them? Brent, we'll start with you.
My coordinators are unlicensed, and my executive assistant is working on getting licensed right now. I pay them both hourly, but I offer any full-time employee, I offer health benefits too. So they have that, which is pretty nice.
Awesome. Tatum, how about you?
No assistant yet. I pretty much handle a majority of it, that's probably going to be my next move, is to hire an assistant.
We'll tackle that in our next lunch together. Katie, how about you? Do you have your assistant salary, licensed, unlicensed? How do you pay him?
Yep. So we've got a marketing coordinator that is unlicensed, but our transaction coordinator that does, deals and things like that and contract work is licensed. They are hourly.
Harold. Okay. Tanya, how about you?
Both of mine are licensed and they are paid hourly.
Got it. Okay. Jacqueline, do you guys have an assistant just yet? I think you said you do.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
we
There's
have
been
an
so much
assistant.
stuff. How do you pay her or him?
She is licensed and it is hourly.
Okay. Got it. All right. So that's that question. Let me see what else we got here. Well, some of the feedback has been, this has been absolutely amazing hearing you guys as team leaders, nurturing your team. Thanks for being on today. I think we can absolutely echo that. Biggest challenge as a team leader? What's been your biggest challenge so far? Go for it. I'll open it up. I'm like, I don't want this to end. I'm like a kid in a candy store with you guys right now. Like, I love you guys. You guys are awesome.
I'll be quick on mine. I struggle with accountability. I'll own that. I really struggle with accountability and dead weight. So still working.
Accountability, you need holding.
Yeah.
Okay. Brent, the next time I see you, I'll work with you on that. Okay. I got some ideas for you. Okay. Tatum, how about you? What's been your greatest challenge?
Just like Brent, accountability. I treat my team as an extension of my family. So I know that's kind of wrong. Everybody tells me like, hey, this is a business, treat it as a business, but it's hard when you are around people every day and you used to seeing them. So I treat my team just like my family, but I wouldn't necessarily say that that's an absolute bad thing, but that's the only thing is accountability, so to speak.
No, and here's the rub with treating people like family, right? You're right. You spend a lot of time with these people as much as you do with your family. So you love them, you care for them. They're a part of your team. You're investing time in them, and so you want to see them produce. You want to see them do well. But at the same time, it's hard to hold a family member accountable, right? Anyways, okay. So I'm getting called into my next meeting, guys. Real quick, Katie. Biggest challenge?
I think, I hate to agree with what everyone else has said, but I would agree with the accountability piece. And, Brent saying like hiring a coach, that was the first thing that we did, right? When we first started our team. And I think that it helped us so much to not make the mistakes that so many people make, so many of the things that we've said on this call today. I obviously could have done better, but, in hiring a coach, it really helped us to not only for us to be held accountable, but for us to hold our team accountable, and it's a lot easier to be able to blame someone else.
So Brent is a Club Wealth. Katie, what's your coach? I think I know, but let's just go ahead and say it.
Well, so when we actually first started coaching, I was coaching with Workman Success Systems with Furl Workman, and all they do is teams. So they have a great structure for building your team and recruiting and training and all that. Now we're with Tom Ferry.
All right, cool deal. Tanya, who's your team? And we're going to end it on these questions.
Who
Your coach? Do you have a coach?
Metrics is typically who I use. They're out of Phoenix. And then accountability, probably along with everybody else, is just, because we are one big family. We're close, we're tight, and it's hard not to be a family when you care that much about them and you want to see them succeed and you share as many experiences as you do with them. So I would say I'm right there with everybody else on the same thing.
Okay, how about you, Jackie? What Jackie and Daniel, we're going to end it here. Biggest challenge, and do you guys have a coach?
We do not have a coach. We would like to have a coach, and I think our biggest problem is accountability to ourselves, just not doing what we should be doing because we don't have a coach.
Okay, that's fair. Listen, this is, and I'm glad you wrapped that up, Jacqueline, not Jackie, Jacqueline. I will tell you that the best people, the best entrepreneurs in the world, the very first rule is everything is your fault. And the fact that all of you can own it and recognize that it's something you need to work on is how you're going to improve. Guys, I don't know what to say to you other than thank you. This has been phenomenal. And it's been really fun to watch you guys interact with each other as well as contributing to the group. Thank you guys. I'm humbled by you and thank you for being a part of Coldwell Banker and I love the camaraderie and please let's do more of these. I know Katie's been pushing for it. So is Tanya, so is Brent. Let's do more of these guys. Okay.
I appreciate meeting all y'all and thank you so much. I got so much out of this meeting. Thank you again.
Cool.
Thanks everybody.
Everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
All right, guys. See you later.